Hello and welcome to the Golden Playbook. This past week, I was on vacation in a place that had legal best ball drafts. If you don't know, I live in Washington that has nothing legal, no fantasy drafts, no sports betting, nothing. So I was down in Oregon and I was able to do some Underdog Fantasy drafts. Today, I'm going to go through one of my first drafts I did when I was down there, kind of talk through what I was thinking during my picks and show you just how my team ended up. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. All right, so as you can see, I am in the 12 hole. I am at the turn. I didn't really come into this draft with any plan, just try to get the best team possible. I really like the turn in these best ball drafts this year. I think you can get 2 first-round guys at the end of the first round there. In my head, there's like 14 first-round picks, and I'm able to get 2 of them, so I really, really like being at the turn. As you can see, the usual suspects off the board, all the top 6 guys, McCaffrey, Nico, Puka. So I queue up some of my guys I like, Malik, Amon-Ra. You definitely don't want to outthink your first round pick. Just kind of take the guys top of ADP that you prefer. As in this one, I get Amon-Ra to fall to me. So I go ahead and take Amon-Ra. I was battling between Brian Thomas and Achane at the 13 spot. Ended up going Achane so I could have more of a balanced build. 1 wide receiver, 1 running back. And I genuinely think Devon Achane can be the RB1 this season. So I am very elated with this Amon-Ra Devon Achane start. I think there's tons of upside as well as tons of floor. I love this start out of the 12 spot. All right, as you can see, kind of most of the same. Trey McBride does fall to the middle of the 3rd round, which is a little bit far for him, but I've seen him falling. Both Josh Allen and Lamar go in front of me. So I was definitely looking at a couple of guys here. I definitely had queued up Hampton. I think with the Najee injury, I think Hampton's in line for a huge, huge season. And then I was hemming and hawing between Evans, Daniels, Worthy. I ended up shooting for the upside with Worthy. The Rashee Rice news was fairly recent at this point, so we are expecting, a 4 to 6 game suspension for Rashee Rice. I think Xavier Worthy's upside in his absence could absolutely be massive. I'm also setting up the potential Patrick Mahomes stack later in the draft, which I definitely want to target. So I went Hampton and Worthy at the 3-4 turn. In this one, Kittle does fall to the end of the 4th round, but for most of the drafts I did on this trip, he was going at the end of the 3rd round, beginning of the 4th round, which is a really, really high price for George Kittle. I think that is his ceiling, in my opinion. So I think George Kittle was definitely getting drafted very early, so I did not find myself grabbing much Kittle. As you can see, there was a very large run on wide receivers in the 5th round. Joe Mixon goes. This was just before the news that, his injury might be more serious than it is. Joe Mixon turned into a guy I was avoiding in these drafts, dealing with the foot injury that could be related to the ankle. It's a lot of messiness with Joe Mixon, so I'm trying to stay away. Really hoping Kamara falls to me in this, and he does. So I am able to get a nice, solid 3rd running back as I am checking what guys will be available at the next turn. So I go with Kamara to get 3 stud running backs with Achane, Hampton, and Kamara. And then I shoot for more upside at wide receiver with Travis Hunter. You never know. He could be an 85% snap guy on offense. So I have lots and lots of upside in the receiver room with Worthy, with Hunter. And then my RBs are as solid as they come. Absolutely love these first 6 picks out of the 12 spot. All right, as we near my pick, I'm hoping to complete the Patrick Mahomes stack with Worthy. And then I'm hoping to get one of these receivers between Diggs, Igbuka, Downs, Mooney to fall to me. Of course I will, with how many guys are left. But I love all these wide receivers in this range. I think that there's a good combination of upside and floor depending on which guy you go with, as Diggs goes 2 picks ahead of me. And then Igbuka, who has lots of upside in his own right, goes right before me. So I go ahead and choose Darnell Mooney. And this was just prior to, the injury to the shoulder, which I'm not too worried about. I think he'll be ready for week 1. I think Mooney's upside in Atlanta, being the clear-cut number 2 behind Drake London. I'm really high on Darnell Mooney. It'll just be kind of waiting to see how's the shoulder doing. And hopefully he's available by beginning of the season. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes, pair him up stacked with Xavier Worthy, who I absolutely love. Just imagine if you said a few years ago that Patrick Mahomes would be an 8th round pick in best ball. You would be crazy, but I think the volume can come back. I think they'll kind of lean away from that running game that they have leaned on the last couple of seasons, and I think Patrick Mahomes will have a large volume season. a lot to Xavier Worthy. All right, and we near the picks here in the 9-10 turn. And we are taking a look at a couple guys here. With not having a tight end yet, we're taking a look at Mark Andrews, potentially, a running back here since we only have 3 so far. So we take a look. We're hemming and hawing between Scatabo and Zach Charbonnet. Kind of in a nutshell, I'm a bigger fan of Charbonnet. I think he showed what he can do, and I do so by drafting him here. In Kenneth Walker's absence, he showed, some absolute firepower, had, a 20, 25 plus point game. So I really like Zach Charbonnet, and I think Kenneth Walker's already been dealing with some injuries, in OTAs, in training camp. So really like Zach Charbonnet. And then we go ahead and grab Keon Coleman, another second-year wide receiver who should have lots and lots of upside in a high-powered Buffalo offense. So kind of shooting for some more upside at wide receiver with the Keon Coleman play. And so far, I really, really like my squad. Like I said, I love drafting in the back half of the draft. I think the 11 and 12 spots are 2 of the better picks in the underdog drafts right now. But very thrilled with our start so far. All right, and we are nearing our next 2 picks, and we still have yet to draft a tight end. As you can see, there are a couple of good ones on the board with Njoku, with Loveland. Thinking about doing the Trevor Lawrence thing to pair up with Travis Hunter. I think that'd be another good second stack, but he does go right in front of us. We get sniped on Trevor Lawrence. So we do have to do a little bit of pivoting. We kind of scroll down a little to see, what are we looking at? We might reach a little on Michael Penix just to ensure we get that stack with Darnell Mooney. Definitely got sniped a bit on Trevor Lawrence, but we kind of panic pick Michael Penix there. And then we grab Hollywood Brown to add to the Kansas City stack. Of course, this was previous to his injury news, but not looking too serious for Hollywood Brown. But we now have Mahomes paired with Xavier Worthy, paired with Hollywood Brown. Currently have 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, and 6 wide receivers. Really liking the squad. Obviously, we're going to be lacking at tight end. This will be a 3 tight end draft, so no big deal. With it being half PPR, the tight end position is much more reliant on touchdowns in Underdog. The PPR format kind of creates more of a separation with those high target guys like Bowers and McBride. But I'm not too worried. I think we are going to find some good tight ends later in this draft. And we are nearing our pick. I am trying to get Kyle Pitts to add to the Atlanta stack. Penix, Mooney, adding Pitts to that would be great. Potentially looking at other tight end options like Brenton Strange. As we are next on the clock, Kyle Pitts gets sniped, so we are sniped back-to-back times by Buncox. But we'll go ahead and grab Brenton Strange as our first tight end. We desperately needed one, and we kind of looked down the board. As you know, I'm kind of a big Mike Gesicki guy. I think he has lots of opportunity in the high-powered Cincinnati offense this year. Hunter Henry should give you a nice floor, but I think Mike Gesicki's upside could be very, very solid. So I go back-to-back tight ends, Brenton Strange, Mike Gesicki, as we now have 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 6 receivers, and 2 tight ends through 14 rounds. And of course, we are getting down to the nitty-gritty of the guys, the players that are kind of more deep cuts, trying to fill out our roster. We probably need a running back here. We only have the 4 running backs, although I'm very happy with our top 4. As we know, we have the 6 wide receivers shooting for lots of upside. So we are just trying to fill out our running back receivers, get some guys that are, going to score some solid points, try to ping pong some weeks back and forth. We queue up Adam Thielen. He would be a good safe floor play, especially early in the season, but he does go 2 picks ahead of us. So we're getting some running backs in the queue, some Braylon Allen, some Will Shipleys, who, in case of an injury to a Breece Hall, a Saquon Barkley, these guys could fill in and be studs. As Braylon Allen goes right in front of us, thinking about Diami Brown, and then I remember, Diami Brown sucks. Plus, we already got sniped on Trevor Lawrence, so there's no need. We ended up pivoting last minute, going Rico Dowdle. And I really like Rico. I liked what he did last season. I think if Chuba is to go down, obviously Rico would have a big role. But even if he does not go down, I think Rico will be involved. I think he'll be able to spell him. Probably won't be 50-50. Obviously, they paid Chuba the massive contract. But I really like Rico Dowdle. I think he'll have a little bit bigger role than people are realizing. And then I felt the need to get a third quarterback with Penix being my quarterback number 2. So Aaron Rodgers, he's unstacked, but, he could go for a big game every once in a while. It's definitely not a sexy pick. I'm just chasing some quarterback points. I end up going Aaron Rodgers there, and then we are down to our last 2 picks. And I should say this draft was prior to the Joe Mixon news, so I would have probably gone Nick Chubb over Rico Dowdle just based off the new developing story that Nick Chubb could have a larger role. But at this time, we did not know that information, but hindsight probably would have gone with Nick Chubb over Rico Dowdle. As we know, we need a third tight end because we took 2 late, so we queue up Ja'Tavion Sanders, who's one of the later tight ends that I really like. I think he has a lot of upside. He was really starting to get it going at the end of last season until a neck injury kind of caused him to miss the rest and then be, a little rusty. I know Tommy Tremble's there, but he does have an injury, and it is just Tommy Tremble. So I think Ja'Tavion Sanders is going to be part of this new Carolina passing attack with Ted McMillan, with Ja'Tavion Sanders. Obviously, the old firm Adam Thielen is still there. So I love Sanders. And then we just add one more piece onto our Kansas City stack, because why not? They're the Kansas City Chiefs. Rookie Jalen Royals, who I've heard very good things about. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know a ton about the guy, but I've heard he's been making flashy plays at camp. If an injury happens to one of the guys, hope not because we have most of them, but say Rashee Rice's suspension is longer than we imagine, Jalen Royals could step in and be a guy. So we get a solid Kansas City triple stack there with Mahomes, Worthy, Hollywood, and Jalen Royals. And let's see the squad one more time. We go Amon-Ra in the first, Devon Achane, Amarian Hampton, Xavier Worthy, Alvin Kamara, studs at both running back and receiver positions, Travis Hunter, Darnell Mooney, Mahomes to the stack, Charbonnet, Keon Coleman, Michael Penix to pair with Darnell Mooney, Hollywood Brown, Brenton Strange, Mike Gesicki, and Ja'Tavion Sanders are 3 tight ends. Rico Dowdle, Aaron Rodgers, and Jalen Royals rounds it out. All in all, I think it's a fairly decent squad. Not bad for a rookie underdog drafter, if I do say so myself. So I really like the squad. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Comment down below what your favorite pick to draft out of is. I personally like the back of the draft, but comment down below what your favorite one is. Make sure you smash that like button and the subscribe button so you can stay tuned for more of these videos. I will be breaking down a couple more underdog drafts in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for the support. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.